This is the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. 3, 2, 1. And welcome everybody to this episode of the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. I am your host, John Allen, coming at you solo today. No guest, just me, no filters, just me. Let me just start off by saying I appreciate all of you listening. Thank you for your support. If you want more information about what's going on in my tiny little life, go on to my website at John Allen. You know what? What, Snoop? What do you want? What? I'm
just wondering how it goes.
You're just wondering how it's going? Well, it was going just fine until you come buffaloing into my studio here. There's not a single host of a podcast in this world who has to experience these kind of things. Okay?
I was just wondering, do you need me?
Do I need you? Yes, I need you.
Okay.
Good Lord. Back off, woman. Let me finish this.
Oh, okay. We going to have to go out then?
Sure, as soon as I'm done. Yeah. Okay? Wow. That's how professional things are around here. Anyway, if you would like information about where you can find me on different places all over social media, go to my website at johnallenpod.com. That's JOHNALANPOD.com. Check it out. Okay, let's get started with what I would like to talk about today. On February 23rd, 2020, Ahmaud Arbery, an unarmed 25-year-old black man, was run down, shot and killed, murdered while jogging in the area of Brunswick, Georgia. I think it's, is it Glenn County? Glenn County. I believe it's Glenn County in Georgia. Shot down, chased down, run down, and shot. Lynched. A modern-day lynching. February 23rd, 2020. Okay, murder of Ahmaud Arbery. Now, 2 days before that, 2 days or so, roughly, 3 days before that, Snoopy, the lovely lady who you heard so charmingly interrupting this podcast, 2 or 3 days before that, she wanted us to buy a home in that same neighborhood. Just saying that, it sends chills down my spine. Okay? Now, this is a neighborhood, you know, when you look at it on the surface of it, because we've been looking for quite some time to buy a home. You know, we've kind of flipped back and forth on whether or not we want to look at a home, a new home, a second home as an investment opportunity or as a vacation home or someplace where we'd like to permanently live. You know, we're kind of back and forth about exactly what we would use a new home for. But we have been looking in areas along the southern coastal, southeast coast of the United States. And we were very close to taking concrete steps towards getting a real nice home that we found around Brunswick, Georgia. Actually, it was in the same neighborhood that Mr. Arbery was murdered. Snoopy had found it. She had talked me into being interested about it as well. We were going to make a phone call. We were kind of looking into me flying out there to look at it. You know, in retrospect, it probably would not have worked out, you know, everything with Corona going on. But at that time, that's what we were looking to do. This is at the beginning of the Corona situation. We didn't really understand how bad it was going to be. But that's how close we were to doing this. And then, boom, a couple days later, the lynching, the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. And ever since that happened, it's got me thinking about, now a lot of you have seen the movie, The Green Book. A lot of you, even before the movie, you knew what the Green Book was all about. Just to tell you very quickly, very shortly and briefly, the Green Book is it's a literal book that was put out there for black motorists during what was the time period when the Green Book was out? I want to say it was from the early 1936 until 1966. The Green Book was printed, and this was a book that was put out for black motorists in the United States, literally telling them the safe places in the United States, black-owned businesses, or at least non-racist businesses, hotels, restaurants, rest areas, where it would be safe for black travelers. So, a lot of people aren't aware of it, but that was a necessity back then. You had Jim Crow laws, you had racism and Jim Crow laws that prohibited black people from utilizing the amenities of safe travel that other Americans, that white Americans could enjoy at that time. So hence the Green Book with information about where black travelers could safely travel. It's a really interesting history in the Green Book. You should really look it up. It was put in place through with the help of black employees of the U.S. Postal Services, because of course in their travels, delivering the mail, they knew where it was safe and where it was not safe for black travelers. So I'm going to throw it out there that we need a modern day Green Book. I can only imagine Ahmaud Arbery could have been me. We could have bought this home. I could have been out in that neighborhood, not knowing, you can speculate as to how quickly we would realize that it was a racist or a certain number of racists that would make that area unsafe for us. But that could have been me out for a walk. That could have been our son, 13 years old at the time. That could have been him out for a walk, getting chased down, murdered, at the very least harassed by some of these racists who live in areas like that. It's frustrating, it's sad, and it angers me that this is something that I would have to think about. Now, what made me want to talk about this for this podcast episode is just yesterday. Now, we still have not given up on the thought of buying another home, again, whether for an investment opportunity or as a vacation home or a permanent home. We haven't decided that yet, but we're still looking. So, again, Snoop is, she's supposedly this Viking Norwegian Valkyrie woman who is, battle hardened and can handle the cold, with us living here in Norway. But she cannot handle the cold. She is very focused on us finding someplace with a subtropical or tropical environment. So she's still looking along the coast of the southeastern United States. And she found a place yesterday, a very beautiful place, rather rural, in the Outer Banks region. I believe it was in North Carolina, but not too far from the Virginia border. In the Outer Banks region, beautiful home, great price, somewhat of a fixer-upper. We could move in there and kind of fix it up as we go, but beautiful home, great price. It looked good. But the bells started ringing in my head. See, I think about these things. Immediately, just because of the area it was in, I started thinking, well, is this a safe place for us? Is this a safe place for me as a black man? Is this a safe place for my wife as a white woman who is married to a black man? Is this a safe place for our biracial kids? So I posted to a Facebook group that I'm in, a bunch of Americans who are living here in Norway. Matter of fact, it's called Americans in Norway. I posted to that group and I asked people, I said, hey, Snoopy is trying to drag me into this place. Here's where it is in North Carolina. What do you guys know about this area? Is it safe? Well, the answers, the comments come on this little thread in this Facebook group. And lo and behold, several people, of course, some people said it's okay, just go ahead and move there. But some people are saying, be careful, that's right in the middle of Klan Country. Now, this is coming from people who used to live in that area, or at least close enough to that area to where they are familiar with that area. White people in this Facebook group telling me, don't go there. That's Klan Country. And I don't know. It's depressing. It's downright depressing that this is something that I have to think about. It's depressing and it's disgusting and it's so un-American. that an American, one of your fellow citizens, I am an American citizen, but I have to worry about the threat of Jim Crow-esque policies and people that would keep me and my family from being able to live peacefully in my own country. Think about that. Some of us have to worry about that. Most of us do not, but some of us do. And it's not right. It shouldn't be like that. So I'm going to come with a statement here. Racism is not dead. Racism is not dead. Black Americans still need a green book. We need a modern day green book. So I was looking around online, and it turns out there actually is a modern day green book. There is a lady by the name of Shauna Beni. That's ShaunaBeni. She wrote an article at cntraveler.com. She's a contributor there. And she wrote an article about what it took to actually write a modern day green book for Black travelers. Now, she took it on a global, to the global stage, and traveled to different places all over the world, and I'm not sure what parameters, I'm not sure how she did her research to figure out, I haven't read the book, but I did come across the article, which is why I'm mentioning it, just to say that, yes, there is a modern day green book out there. Someone has written a book about this. So I recommend that book. I'm going to check it out. I want to read it. I want to see what they found out. I also found a gentleman by the name of Jan Miles, or probably it's pronounced Jan Miles, Janmiles, who is the author of a book called The Post-Racial Negro Green Book. I haven't read that either. But again, this is just a little testimony to the fact that there are, this is still an issue. Black people are still wondering where they can safely travel, not only in the United States, but around the world. But for this podcast, I'm talking about safe travel for Black people in the United States, safe housing for Black people in the United States. Of course, if you're living in a segregated area, if it's just Black people, you're probably fairly safe. At least you don't have to worry about racism. You don't have to worry about people burning crosses in your front yard and things like that. But again, to imagine that as a modern day American citizen, you have to think about those kind of things. It breaks my heart. I'm an expat, okay? I'm an American citizen living outside of the United States. And I don't know what it is. Maybe this distance that I have, it's brought about a new perspective. But I feel, since I've been gone from the U.S., I've been in Norway now for 20 years almost, I feel I'm more aware of my Blackness, if I can use that word. I'm more aware of my Blackness now than I ever was when I lived at home. I guess that distance, it gives me a new perspective, and I see this broad spectrum of what racism is. Racism is not just calling Black people the N-word. Racism is also discrimination, both overt discrimination and covert discrimination. Racism is having to worry about where you can buy a home and where you can travel safely and not be discriminated against or killed, murdered, as in the case of Ahmaud Arbery. It breaks my heart to have to think about those kind of things. That's not, I don't know. Is this what America is? Is this the reality of America? Is this just, should I just accept that that's the way it is? I have to just worry about these kind of things now. Is that what it is? Just roll over and accept it? I don't know. I accept the reality of it, but I refuse to accept the reality of it. I believe there's things that can be done to fight against these kind of things. And I believe that the main thing that can be done is the dialogue, the discussion, shining a light on it. And that's why I'm making this podcast episode. I've said it before, I've lost friends because of these solo episodes that I do, when I speak my mind. I have different kinds of episodes. I have the episodes where I have a guest, where we're talking about whatever it is about that guest that has piqued my interest. And then from there, we can branch off into other things. Sometimes we touch on social issues and politics, but for the most part, it's to shine a light on what that guest has done to make me interested in them. Maybe they have something to promote, things like that. So there's those kind of podcast episodes that I do. Then I have the podcast episodes where I'll bring on Snoopy and we'll laugh and I'll flirt with her and tease her. And we have a laugh, but it's rooted in a serious discussion about whatever the theme of the day is. And then I have these solo episodes where I tend to, I don't want to call it a rant, because when someone rants, it seems like there's a certain amount of derangement and delusion up in that. I'm not ranting, but I'm speaking what's on my heart. I'm getting it off my chest in these solo episodes. I talk about things that I'm concerned with. I talk about things that I think are important. So, as I said, it breaks my heart. It hurts me to my soul that I have to just put yourself in my shoes, please. Statistically, you're probably a white person listening to this. Okay, step out of your whiteness for a minute. Put yourself in my shoes. How would you feel if you were to find this home that you want to? This is your chance to repatriate yourself with your country, and you find a home where you want to do that, only to find out that it is literally right smack in the middle of one of the hottest areas of Klan activity. Good God. Put some thought into that. How would that make you feel? How would that make you feel? There's this thing, there's this idea that says, and you're going to find this in every Western country in the world, that a man should be able to buy a home to house his family and live in peace. Isn't that pretty much one of the bedrocks of Western society, of any democratic society, that you should be able to do that? Well, I don't want to say I can't do that, because I can and I will find another place, but that I am hindered in doing that just because of the color of my skin. It's pretty disgusting. And I've seen it, and I know some people are going to roll their eyes and say, "Oh my gosh, here goes John feeling sorry for himself. Stop pulling the race card." I'm not going to curse, but screw you. If you're one of those people saying that, I'm not pulling any kind of a race card. I'm speaking on my reality. I'm speaking on how I have experienced this. I'm giving a factual summary of my recent experience with trying to find a home for my family and I. Okay? There's no race card to be pulled. I can't stand that phrase, pulling the race card. I don't even know what that means. That's what sensitive people use when they try to discount a black man's account of how he has experienced something. That's what they'll say. They'll say that black man is pulling the race card. Okay? So please don't do that. I ask people, when I give such accounts as I'm giving now, when other people give accounts of such occurrences, such things that they've experienced, I ask you to please take a deep breath, settle yourself, and listen, because it can be a learning experience. And I'm not saying high and mighty me, I'm going to try and teach you something, but I'll put it to you this way. Who among us is not willing to learn more? Who among us is not willing to gain more knowledge, to gain more power over one's future, one's destiny? Because more knowledge means more power, which means more control over your own destiny. So I ask people to just take a deep breath, step back. Don't feel attacked. I'm not attacking anybody. by sharing this. Don't go into that defensive position. Stop a minute and listen, and you might learn something. Maybe not. But it wouldn't hurt to listen, would it? Because I think that's what it's going to take to get us through these remnants of, I don't care who you voted for this time around or back in 2016. You have to admit there is much more division in the United States because of racism than there was for 4 or even 8 or even 12 years ago. So how do we fix that? Who wants that? No, you have some of these radical, right-wing, radical white supremacist groups who want that, but they are a very, very small minority. Who among us in that majority want this kind of conflict? If you don't want this kind of conflict, you have to be willing to go into that dialogue. You have to be willing to have that discussion and search your soul. How do you feel about these kind of things? Okay, is this the way you feel? You feel that these kind of situations shouldn't be happening. You feel that black people should be able to buy a home any place they want and not fear for their lives. If that's how you feel, voice it somehow, somewhere, in some sort of forum. And that forum can be just as simple as just having a conversation with one of your buddies. It's a Saturday night, you're visiting with one of your buddies, you're drinking a beer, having a discussion, bring this up. Hey, I heard John Allen talk about this, talk about this on his podcast, and he said this, that, and I agree with this, that, and the other, but I don't agree with this. Here's what I think. What do you think? Right? I don't think there's enough of that happening. I think quite the opposite is happening. People are going to great efforts to ignore that these kind of things are out there, that these kind of discussions need to be had. People know these discussions need to be had, but they're not having them. Why? I don't know. Fear, guilt. Oh my goodness. White guilt. I think white guilt should just flush that down the toilet. Get rid of that. If you are a modern white American living today and you feel that you are not racist, then you know what? You're probably not racist. So then you have nothing to feel guilty about. You should feel angry and frustrated if you are an anti-racist. But if you are not racist, then what is there for you to feel guilty about? Get rid of this whole concept with white guilt. I would rather have a white ally than a white person who is inactive because of guilt when it comes to racial issues. Let me say it again. I would rather have a white ally than a white person who is inactive in the discussion around racism and racial equality because they are feeling white guilt. I'll take the white ally any day. Now, having said that, I think I said this before on a podcast. I think it's been a beautiful thing when you go back to early 2020, in the summer of 2020, with all of the protests and all the marching outside. I thought it was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing to see so many white people out there in the streets. In fact, the overwhelming majority of the people in the streets in some of these marches and some of these protests were white people. And that was promising. That was beautiful. That means white allies. That means white people activating themselves, being active in the fight against racism. Beautiful thing. Those people don't suffer from white guilt. Okay, because white guilt, it makes you lame. It makes you frozen. It makes you inactive. If you are not a racist, you have nothing to feel guilty about. So I guess that means if you're suffering from white guilt, maybe you are a racist. That's for you to decide on whether or not you're a racist. And if you feel that you're a racist, then, and if you don't like it, then you have to work on erasing your racist ideas. But I digress. No home for me in most areas of coastal Southeast USA. That's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking. Oh, it's frustrating. Sitting on Zillow and Realtor.com, these different search platforms for homes, and we find I blame Snoopy. I blame her. She is the one that just absolutely has to have a home in a subtropical or tropical area. So that would be from coastal North Carolina all the way down and around into that lovely, lovely state called Florida. Those are the places where she's looking. And I tell you, I'm not saying that place is just one big red spot on the map with a racism stamp on it. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that I have to consider, I have to find out, are these places, I have to wonder, are these places safe? Is it in the middle of Klan Country? Man. If only I could talk her into, maybe the Pacific Northwest. I'm not saying there's no racism up there, but there's certainly less up there than there is in the southeastern USA. Am I wrong? Washington State, Oregon, Northern California. I don't know. Where can a brother live? Where is it safe from racism in the United States? Somebody tell me. Send me an email. john@johnallenpod.com. Send me an email. Tell me, where can I live? And again, with the limitations, when it comes to weather and temperature, because Snoopy wants to melt. She needs it to be hot. It's not very hot in the northwestern USA, but at least it's by the ocean. That's a big factor for us. We want to get up by the ocean. But yeah, who knows? We're limited. And, oh gosh, he's on that poor John thing. You know what? Yeah, poor me that I got to worry about whether or not somebody's going to burn a cross in my front yard if my family and I decide to buy, and that would be the worst. That would be the smallest of things to worry about if we were in some Klan enclave, Oh, you only got a cross burned in your front yard? Well, Ahmaud Arbery got murdered while out for a nice little jog. Big difference. Oof. My America. I'm homesick. I'm constantly homesick. One of these days we are going to move back home. Hopefully in the near future we will buy this, second home, this vacation home, this possible investment home. But in the end, we are going to move back. Our plan is to split our retirement time between Norway and the United States. And it would suit me just fine to move back home to Ohio and be around my family there. But again, Snoopy cannot handle the cold. Isn't that weird? She's born and bred Norwegian, Viking, right? But she can't handle the cold. Go figure. Go figure. Well, that's been my thoughts for the day. Thinking about this whole thing with having to worry about racism, having to worry about whether or not a house is in Klan Country. Look, I'm not trying to be that guy. I cannot remember his name. The black guy who turns Klan members away from the Klan. They make him. He turns in their robes after getting to know him. I don't have the time for that, and I don't feel like flipping a coin. Trying to figure out if a neighbor is a potential convert away from racism and into the light of acceptance. I don't have time for that. Although it would be a good career if I was a single man, didn't have to worry about the safety of loved ones in my immediate family, in my household. Anyway, this is the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. Thank you all so very much for listening. Check out my website, johnallenpod.com. And from there, you can see where you'll find me on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube. I'm asking people to please go to my YouTube channel. Please go there, like, subscribe. I'm trying to get enough people there to where it will justify me putting some time into making some videos. All of my podcast episodes are posted there, but I want to do videos, kind of branch off from my podcast episodes and do some other videos. People are very interested in my training. I am a powerlifter, record-holding powerlifter. Thank you. Toot my own horn there. Toot, toot. And people are interested in me posting some of those kind of things. I already post those things on my social media, my Instagram and my Facebook. But people want to see longer videos, and I'm very willing to do that. So help me out. Let me see that you guys are interested. Let me see that you're subscribing on my YouTube channel. You'll find the link to my YouTube channel at my website, johnallenpod.com. Okay? Check it out. Bye, everybody.
Thank you and goodbye.